Greetings and welcome. I'm Rebecca Carner, Biofield Tuna. This live is about tuning into focus as an expanding energy, right? Where we place our focus, what we focus on expands. And before I dive into this topic, I am trying a new type of event tomorrow, which is Thursday, May 22nd, 5:22:25. I am at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be doing a YouTube live about tuning into and connecting with our higher self, which is a concept I'll get into tomorrow. But in some ways, today's YouTube Live, while always a good idea and always a consideration, as that dovetails into this connecting with our higher aspect and our higher selves to use that to move forward, is these things go great together. So just to let you know, I will be doing an evening time YouTube Live tomorrow. So today, first of all, let's just drop in. Let's drop into the present. Let's drop into breath. Let's drop into this Wednesday morning. Whenever you're finding this video, whatever day it happens to be, drop into your now. Good. And just be with yourself. Arrive and wow, already, I mean, immediately tuning into the collective field, the temperature went up and the overall busyness and doing and sort of background tension feels very, very present. Whew, okay. For those who will find this video later, I'm just going to work to create a moment of drop-in point, of pause, of singular awareness whilst in flow, because that can also be a thing. And that truly, I am sweating. Wow. Okay. 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 You know, here in the US, the end of May is the culmination of school terms for basically all ages. There is an arrival point, astrologically speaking, in 2 days that's a pretty big, rare occurrence and will have energetic impacts on all of us going forward. Whew, okay. Wow, okay. Okay. Okay, friends. Yeah. So apparently we're all feeling it because hot dog. Whew. And again, I will repeat the headline of today's tuning. What you focus on expands. Attention is not neutral. Attention, what we pay attention to, nourishes that thing. Period. It is up to us to know and be honest and be aware of what we're placing our focus on. Good. Okay. Wow, that initial wave seems to have dissipated some, and now we're sort of arriving into kind of a almost a warbly sense. Mm. It feels like riding a bike. You know, when you go really slow, it's actually harder to stay balanced. Whereas if you're just booking it down the street, it's a lot easier to stay upright. It's like initially everybody was running so fast just to have momentum be able to carry them. And the minute I sort of cleared some of the rush, there kind of became a warbly, sort of more fatigued undercurrent. Ooh, yep, yep, okay. All right, and I'm going to drop us into ground. Okay, so some of the feelings, some of the pressure, some of the sensations and sort of backtrack of running thoughts. Anything that's ready to go, you can just drop it to ground, just like you sort of take your sprayer in your kitchen sink and spray all the gunk down into the garbage disposal right into your incinerator. um, let's sort of run through our system and just really quickly, just a super quick tidy, anything that's ready to go, anything that's a little played out or that's sort of hypercharged and therefore kind of burnt as opposed to illuminant. Yeah, good. Ooh, yeah, okay, good. We can discharge that to ground. And by discharging that energy, we aren't lowering our voltage. We are, in fact, raising our capacity to hold clean current by discharging the crunked up stuff. Nice. Wow, nice. Great. Yes. Yes. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Let me talk for just a second about the concept. I'm really riffing off of the concept of attention, right? Intention is kind of baked in there, right? Because our underlying intention definitely is a bedrock and an informing foundational layer to what we pay attention to. I think one of my notes recently was that I wrote down from somewhere, attention is the currency of the universe. And this is true, right? So we can formulate intentions, but in any given moment, literally all the time, when we're awake, we are paying attention to something. We are placing our attention on things mentally. And that has energy. That has potency. That has always, in every way, effect on everything. I've been really engaged with the work of a Dr. David Clements, a British physicist originally, and now he is doing different things. And his concept and his lens on living energetics is a beautiful match, and he has wonderful, accessible languaging on what I experience energy to be. There is nothing static. It isn't an It isn't, energy isn't unimprinted potential just waiting to be grasped. It's always moving in some sort of direction. And so always what we pay attention to steers the living energetics that are happening all the time, all the time, all the time. So if you think of yeast bread dough in a warm pantry and how if you watch it very slowly, the yeast, the dough will over time, due to the environment and the yeast put in it, it will sort of billow up almost imperceptibly, but very. So, like that yeast from the inside out, expanding and bringing movement and direction to things, our attention, where we place our thoughts and our gaze, then steers our words, then steers our deeds and actions. And these are not neutral. They are not, you don't, if I place a gaze here and then hurry quick, oh, place my gaze over here and start thinking about this, that first attention point, that first focal point still exists. It doesn't matter. It all exists in the ether and it all exists in the Akashic record. And so it is up to us, by objective self-awareness, and in the yogic we would say Svetyaya, self-study, that we truly start to notice what we're focusing on and then start to really shepherd and yeah, shepherd our thoughts. And when we get on kind of a jag that isn't coherent, isn't life affirming, either for us or for others, when we start to notice that we're either applying our physical efforts or we're applying our mental efforts towards things that don't really support us, we get to move that because, they talk a lot about worry and anxiety as Martha Beck's work about the left hemisphere being the vehicle on which not only is anxiety bred, but that it sort of stays alive. And interestingly enough, it is the left brain that can really catch itself and redirect us into a more right-brained experience. But we have to be able to catch ourselves. Or we have to have right lobe activating practices built heartily into our daily existence to then set our default to a more neutral lobe experience, right? Left brain is the granular detail, right brain is context and connectivity. And where we place our focus expands. So if you entrain yourself to fear-based thinking wherever it comes by, and friends, it's really easy to come by. And the nuanced ways that fear-based and scarcity-based thinking is propagated and perpetuated out there as reasonable or logical or useful ways of thinking. Like there are so many. So it's it's such an interesting job and such an interesting endeavor to try and figure out and catch yourself focusing on things that are actually drawing you down as opposed to spiraling you up. Yeah. Or even if it isn't spiraling up, like expansive thoughts, curiosity, right? Curiosity is an opening. Curiosity has a frequency of just openness, right? It's neither good nor bad. There's no judgment. It's just engaged and aware and noticing. Yeah. Wow, the question really came up around vigilance, right? If I turn my focus away from things I'm worried about or I want to avoid, if I don't look at those things, then they're going to get me. And interestingly enough, the opposite of true is true. Those living energetics, if you think of yourself like a drop in the Mississippi River, you if mhm, if you retain attention on that what you're trying to avoid, thinking that vigilance will somehow save you, what you're doing is your best to drive the current of the river into the thing that you're trying to avoid because you're focusing on it, right? Because you're thinking about it. I'm not saying to dissociate or to kind of bliss ninny out and think that there is nothing wrong, to acknowledge that these things, I would like to avoid this, I am trying to guard against this in my life. To know that as a thing, great. Yes, that is useful, but then not to focus on it. So if one were to want to avoid X, what would you do? Put your focus then on the thing that you would do, the thing that you are looking to cultivate. Man, years ago, I heard a story about that race car drivers are taught to crash because if you drive cars for a living fast, you're going to crash at some point. But if you look at the wall or if you look at another car and think, don't hit the wall, don't hit the wall, or don't hit the other car, don't hit the other car, you are in fact, because your focus is there when you're hydroplaning or in a flat spin, the only thing that really is guiding the car other than that Mississippi River of momentum is your focal point. So if you're focused on things that you don't want to hit, that's what you're going to hit. Whereas if you think, go to the middle of the track, go to the middle of the track, look for the open space, look for the open space, that's where the car will end up. And it's that way with life. So, just like all race car drivers know, I would prefer not to crash into my colleague and or I would prefer not to crash into the wall. You don't focus on that. You know that the other cars are there. You know that the wall is there. You drive as fast as you can and as expertly as you can. And then if it goes awry, look for the open space. Yes. Yes. And then that informs the living energetics that we are all swimming in, that we are all a part of. Yes. Yes, that made sense to everybody. Good, good, good. And for, pardon, filming glitch there. Thanks for staying with me. Right, and as I start to really wind this down, one of the things like that really came through was, what if I'm doing something that's hard or that I don't want to be doing, right? What if my job is just in a really hard place right now, or I'm in a job that I really don't like right now, or that isn't suiting me, right? That's okay. Even then, you can craft your own focal point. Okay, this isn't the forever job for me. This is not the forever boss for me. I don't really like this task, but you can place attention on, how can I do it effectively and quickly? Or how can I do this with as much clean and clear presence so as to move on? And then you will notice, yeah, and then you will notice that things may feel a little different, or new opportunities for you to change that what you weren't loving will present themselves and start to arrive. Some of these things do take time, much like coaxing and directing the Mississippi River over time. It's not, right? The banks of the Mississippi River don't turn on a dime like a Sherman tank. That's not how energy goes, right? But when we think of focus as directing the living energetics that we are a part of, that is how you do start to just make tiny incremental shifts for your own self, and then also in the collective field. Yeah, yeah. Wow, another huge wave of heat. Right, we're not duty bound. You don't have to worry about driving all the other droplets around you in the Mississippi River. You as a droplet in the Mississippi River is so powerful, is so generative, is so creative. All you have to do, and I mean, what you do may serve others, you might have intentions of altruism, there might be many, many lovely things, but at the end of the day, all we really have to do, and all we really have, is agency over our own focal point, period. So just do that. It is that straightforward, and it is that simplistic, and it is that powerful. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. I hope to see as many of you as are interested in tomorrow evening's connecting into our higher self and our higher aspect. I'm going to wrap this living energetics focus as expanding and creative potential. Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up and drop this in. Yeah, yep, 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 yep. And I'm going to, this is the 528. Nice. Nice. Excellent. May you enjoy exploring where you're focusing on. May you have fun sort of retraining things on your focus on things that feel wonderful and expansive and interesting and supportive of you. Yeah, yeah. Mm, mm, mm. I hope to see you all at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard on May 22nd for us connecting in with our higher self. And I will, if not before, I will see you in a couple of weeks on my next YouTube Live. Thanks so much. Have a great day.